Hello everyone, welcome to 3DDesignAcademy.com. In this lesson, we'll continue with part 5 of the body side of Lexus LF-30 concept car. Okay, so in the previous lesson, I spent some time doing the fillet over here, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on with that. And let's go ahead and delete this surface over here because it's no longer needed. And let's go ahead and delete some construction histories over here. So I'm just going to delete the construction history like that, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this piece over here, and I'm going to trim this piece over here. Now I do need to patch this in, so let's go ahead and do that. So I don't need this curve anymore, so again I'm going to delete that, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a square, so it's going to 1, 2, and notice that yes, let's actually do it on the curve and see if that gives me a good result. So again, I'm going to just grab a curve over here. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4 on this edge, and let's see how that looks. Now, of course, collinear options do need to be turned off, and I'm going to say 1 and 3 is going to rebuild because they should actually be 5 degree instead of having two spans. It should be a single span surface, but it looks like it won't let me. Okay. So right now, if you look at this, I have a curvature failure here, and 2 is positional failed over here. That's probably due to the fact that this is snapped to a curve, not the edge. And as far as the CV structure goes, well, let's take a look. I think it's not too bad, but what I'm going to try and do, actually, you know what? This should actually be lined up over here. So I'm wondering, well, let's try on the edge and see how that looks. So I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here, like this. I'm going to say, okay, so the CV structure is not too bad. So I'm wondering if I can just align it. Now that's it. However, with the curvature like this, you see the CV structure over here is a little bit weird. So I'm going to try and see if I can use the boundary blend to clean that up a little bit. That's not too bad. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult just because, well, it is not, as you can see, this edge over here, it's breaking from this flow over here. So whenever you have something like this, it's not a natural flow. So that's going to give me a little problem. Well, it's going to be a little bit difficult to align. Now that's it. However, I have a position failures, but I'm going to see if I can get this lined up. So I'm going to grab a line over here. I'm going to try edge first and see how that does. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to try position. So with the edge and position influence set to max, it is still failing positional continuity. It looks like there is a little bit of gap over here. So what I'm going to do is try project like this. Now it says tangent failure, but I am not sure if it's what it needs to be. So let's go ahead and grab surface continuity tool, make sure your max label and show comb is on. Okay, so it is failing position, but I'm not, because because I used project, there should be 2 COSs. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this one and see if it still lines up. So let's go ahead and, okay. So it still fails, actually. Yeah, that should be it. Which is kind of unfortunate because I was really hoping to do a single span surface, but looks like that won't let me. So with this COS over here, I'm just going to delete the construction history. Oh, I wonder. Okay, so let's try that. It's still failing position. So unfortunately, it looks like this piece also needs another span. So you just want to make sure that the span goes over here. Okay, so at least it is achieving tangency over here. It's failing position a little bit over here. And also looks like this one is a little bit better. I was really hoping to do a single span, but I think that will require a lot more massaging, which I'm not sure if it's worth the time. So let's just go ahead and skip it. All right, so that's it. Oh, actually, you know what? That said, however, I don't know if I really like the CV structure over here, so I might have to do a little bit of massaging over here as well, because yeah, that's not looking at it's not looking that great. And I think that's due to the CV over here and also this one over here. So I'm going to give them a little bit of lift. Now, before I do that though, I'm going to just do a revert because I would prefer to do that with single span instead of multi-span surface. So, well, having curvature, that's more about compliancy. I would say highlight is more critical. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to grab this CV over here and let's do a proportional modification. So I'm going to grab this one. This one is going to be secondary. I'm going to say 50 over here. I'm just going to pull that out. And I'm just looking for a generally decent shape like that. I think that should improve the highlight over there. I think that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit more, just this one. And I think that one should be good. Let's check the continue highlight over here. Okay, so that's a little bit better, but let's do this. First of all, I'm just going to align this one, make sure that this is curvature over here. And I think that's, yeah, well, that's probably as going to, that's probably as lined up as it's going to be. I know that there's a continuity issue over here. That one I'm going to address a little bit later. Okay, so let's just take a look. I'm just going to align this one again. Position failed, that's fine. I'm just going to leave it as is. All right, so let's just make sure that the highlight is decent before I do any other alignment. Okay, so I think it's not too bad. Now, I still do think that this return over here could probably improve a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull these out and see if that improves it. So I'm just going to, now I'm just going to pull them at the same time because they are proportionate. And let's see if that works. So I pulled it out quite a bit. I like the highlight direction a lot better. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that everything is curvature. So obviously it's failing tangency over here, failing position over here, and it's failing tangency over here. So let's go ahead and start with this side. I'm just going to, okay, so now I'm going to add a span over here like this, and it looks like this one does require a little bit of continuity. Okay, so right now it's tangent over here, it's failing curvature over here, it's failing curvature over here. So let's go ahead and get that all sorted out. Now I'm going to use align first for this one. I'm going to say align. Looks like that does fail. Let's see, that it's actually even failing position over there. So I probably need a little bit of hand manipulation over here, and I'm pretty sure it's going to do the same thing. I can try it. It's going to be really hard to achieve curvature over here. So first of all, let's just do normal like this, and I'm just going to align this again. It's failing curvature a little bit, but it's a little bit better than before. It's not, at least it's not like 0.7 something. All right, that's it. However, I think the highlight is starting to return again and the CV structure is not great. So I'm going to try and pull this out, see if it makes, actually, you know what? For this one, I'm wondering if I should just leave it. Well, let's see what it does. So I'm just going to say NUV, and I'm just going to say mouse sensitivity of 5000. I'm just going to pull it out. It's actually probably going in right now. Let's see. Oh, it is being pulled out. Okay, so that's good. All right, so I'm just going to pull it out like this, and we got curvature there. Just going to push this in a little bit, and I'm going to push this one out just to achieve a little bit of balance between the two. Okay, so I got curvature there, and let's try to get curvature here. Now, I'm going to guess that this is going to be really difficult to get curvature, but at least, well, I can try. All right, so right now the problem is I think there I see a little zigzag over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab planarized hull. Where did it go? There it is. And I'm going to say best fit. I'm going to just planarize it, make it a little bit more straight. Looks like it's 1.0. Now that could be due to the flatness of the surface that's causing that. So Let's see if I can just use a line over here. Okay, so I do see the failure here. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the construction history, and let's just play around with the CV structure a little bit and see if I can get it to work. So it's bouncing up and down between 1.0. So I would say that's probably not going to be, I don't think I'm going to be able to get curvature there. So I'm going to just play around with this one, at least get the combs down on this side. And let's see if I can get this one to do. So for this one, since it's located here, I don't know if yeah, that's failing over there. So I'm going to grab this one. I think I'm getting a little bit closer, but that's failing over here. So I'm just going to see if I can just get a little bit balance between the two. Okay, maybe this one over here. Looks like it's just seesawing between all of these. Oh, looks like I found the CV that works. There we go. Okay, so I got curvature there. Now this one, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get curvature, because every time I touch something, creates a bit of a mess. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to leave it. Unfortunately, at least I got curvature on both two sides. Highlight looks pretty decent over here. I think that's probably due to the flatness of the surface that's contributing to quite a severe, I guess, at least a numerical error in curvature. So I think I'm just going to leave that as is. However, the highlight looks pretty good, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, I think the flow is pretty nice. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what really matters. So I'm just going to let that pass. Unfortunately, I got a couple of spans, but whatever. All right, so now let's go ahead and move over here. So this one is actually no longer needed. So I'm going to just hide it just in case I need it again. And let's go over to this one. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I do need a surface over here. So unfortunately, I'm not going to just block it in because, well, that's going to flick the highlight over here. Like as you can see in this one, as you can see, the highlight starts to flick up. But if you see this image, you'll, not this one. If you see this has a nice flow, just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same method that I did as a demo. So first of all, let me just get rid of these. Actually, I'm probably just going to put it on a different layer. All right, and now what I need is I need a curve over here. So let's go ahead. And I think I'm just going to use an insert, snap it over here like this, and I'm just going to duplicate this edge. I'm going to extend one over here like that, and let's do a little bit of rotation. So I'm just going to rotate using my middle mouse button so that it rotates about the y-axis. I think that looks pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste so that I have an extra, and I'm just going to align one of them like that. Okay, so I think it looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a blending, 1, 2. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. So I think that's all I need. So the other one, you don't really need it anymore. So what I was trying to achieve is just a balance in the CV structure. So I think that's good. And yeah, that's going to give me a nice gesture over here. So now that's done, let's go ahead and do a rail. Actually, before I do that, this one, I think I'm just going to project and see how that does. So I'm just going to do one of the COS. Of course, there's a span in the middle. Let's see, 5 and 5. One is curvature, and rail 2 is also going to be curvature, but it looks like it's failing. Now, it could possibly be due to positional error, but let's take a look. So first of all, let me just trim this. I mean, the highlight looks pretty darn good. I think the CV structure also looks pretty good. Maybe I'll just pull it out just a little bit like this, and let's see. I think that actually helps with the highlight, because if you see this one, it starts to climb down, but I would prefer to climb up a little bit. So maybe I'll just do something like 3, and I think that's terminating nicely. Now that's it. However, it does need to intersect over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a merge. Oh, not a merge, extend. And let's hide this one over here. Yeah, that's not bad. That's looking pretty good. Now, that's it. However, I think I'm just going to extend this surface over here, or just extend that one so that it ends up over here, so that I don't have multiple pieces. I think that's what I'm going to do. But before that though, let me just make sure that everything is actually curvature. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this one. And let's just make sure that everything is curvature. So right now it's failing position continue over here, and it looks like it's failing curvature over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is, actually, you know what? I'm just going to rotate this slightly more. Let's take a look at the CV structure. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Pretty constant there. And let's see. And the highlight, if I look at this, it's flowing nicely. It just terminates up there. I think that's good. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to align this one. Say edge. Yep, that's curvature. It looks like it's 1.0. Blending, I'm going to turn that off. Actually, you know what? Let's see. Does blending have a significant effect? A little bit. You know what? I'm just going to do blend factor 1. And that's that. Now, this side does need a continuity check. So I'm just going to grab this one and see if I can align it here. Now, that should give me a more I guess a more natural surfacing, but I don't really need to. So I'm just going to say vector, and I'm just going to say normal should be fine, and everything looks pretty good. And I got curvature on both sides, which is awesome. All right, so I don't need this curve anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. And there is going to be a fillet. Now I'm going to just extend this over here like that. Now that, because I'm extending essentially a fillet, it's going to do a little bit of CV structure. So I'm going to try and make sure that the extend is not too long and just minimal like this. Okay, so that looks good. So I got a couple of the more difficult fillets in, and I think the intersection over here looks pretty good. Now it is going to rise up a little bit, but because of this is about perpendicular to this surface or this fillet over here, so it's not too bad. So nothing to be too worried about there. All right, so now that's done. I think it is probably a good time to put a fillet over here. So let me just check this the structure over here. And okay, so this one, I don't remember the size. Okay, so it looks like that was about 200. I think that's a pretty good fillet size. So I think I'm just going to keep it that way. So let's just hide this one and bring this back. Now for this one, I'm going to make sure that these are nicely aligned. So I'll probably, now I do see a little mismatch over here, but I'll probably just make sure that this extends nicely. So first of all, let's actually trim this one. So I'm going to go ahead and intersect it over here, and I'm going to say trim like this. And now I'm going to just do a fillet over here between these two. I should probably grab this one too. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at this fillet. Okay, so it's starting to go over here. This one I'm going to delete. And I'm going to say, grab these two. This is going to be 200. And let's take a look. Now this one over here can be edge align. Unfortunately, because it is Bezier, it does give me a couple of pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say user auto. I think that's a little bit better. I'm not quite sure about the structure though, because that looks a little bit weird. So I'm going to say auto on this one too. That looks a little bit better, so I'll probably just end up doing an extend. Now, prefer this just to be connected like this, so that just one piece. Let's see. Just going to refer back to my original patch. Now, this one is technically a little bit smaller, so I guess it's not too bad. But this one over here does need to connect on the top. So obviously, the less number of pieces, the easier it is going to be. But I don't know if it's really worth the time to do all that. So maybe I'll just leave it like this. Because that's technically an extra piece that I have to take care of. So, well, yeah. All right, that's it. However, let's see if I need to also do a fillet over here. Oh, that doesn't build. So let's do this. I'm just going to untrim this piece over here like this. And I'm going to deselect this one. And I'm going to select it again. And see where it flows. Well, looks like it won't do that. So first of all, let me just turn busy on. Won't update at all. Oh, there we go. Oh, all right. Looks like Bezier won't do it for me, which means I probably have to, it's probably not, these set of surfaces probably doesn't have the best CV structure. I wish it would just work, but whatever. Okay, so let's try again. So I'm just going to grab these, this piece, I'm going to grab this one, and this one. I'm going to just put a fillet in there. Oh, there we go. That's much better. And I'm going to see if I can do Bezier to clean up the CV structure, and that gives me two pieces, which is not good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn Bezier off like that, and I'm going to grab this one over here, and I'm going to turn Bezier back on. I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to just paste it in there, and it should ideally fit nicely in there. But, well, you do want to check to make sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the surface continue here. Oh, looks like it is failing tangency. And, oh, wow. Okay. So it looks like it's not aligned as well as it should. So if that's the case, I wonder if it's just going to be better if I do that. If I'm going to do this anyways, you know what? I might as well as just reduce the surface count. Okay, so let's try that. So I'm just going to untrim over here, and delete the COSs here, like that. And I'm just going to do a surface fillet over here. Just going to say connect. And this one won't be Bezier because it's giving me two pieces. So unfortunately, I do have to clean out. It does look like I have to do a little bit cleanup on the CV structure here. Let's take a look. Bezier, yes, it's cleaner, but obviously it's in two pieces, which is not great. And I'm going to grab this one over here, and I'm going to just do a fillet between these two. And obviously, it's giving me a little weird patch structure. So I'm just going to see, I'm going to say, well, let's do this. I'm just going to undo this one. And I'm just going to check what kind of patch structure this gives. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. I'm just going to hide it. Just going to undo over here. And I'm going to see what it looks like over here just by itself. Okay, so it's that's not too bad, but I think probably needs to flow nicely or flow, give it a little bit better flow there. So let's take a look. So I'm going to do an align between these two, or a surface filler, I mean. Okay, so as you can see, I'm going to say connect. Oh, not edge align. Connect over here. You know what? I think I'm just going, let's see, because if you look at this, the patch structure is a little bit more closer to this one than the other one. So I'm probably going to use this as a base, and I'll connect the this one at a little bit later stage. So what I'm going to do, actually, you know what? Let's make this a little bit smaller so that it fits better. So instead of 200, I'm going to say 190. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And I'll just have to redo that one. Okay. So, oh, this one, actually, you know what? I was able to achieve a single span, but as you can see, the CV structure is a little bit weird. So let's see if I can do Bezier. That still makes it into two pieces, which is kind of annoying. So let's fix that. So I'm going to say hide and select it. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4 just to rebuild it. 1 is going to be curvature, 3 is going to be curvature, but I'm going to make sure that the boundary blend is reset, and I got a little bit of better CV structure this way. And let's take a look. It's a little bit weird over here, and of course it's a little bit wiggly over here. So I'm going to try to straighten those out. So what I'm going to do is just planarize all, best fit over here. That looks a little bit better. Do the same thing over here and do the same thing over here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to do this one too. And that looks a little bit better overall. Now that's however, because I did a best fit on this edge over here, I do need to make sure to align it back in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a line. Let's say curvature over here. Let's say position influence to max is pretty good. This one, however, I am going to reproject. So I'm going to say, let's see, I'm just going to do a project align. It's going to G2 like this. It's not curvature. I'm going to say Y. Oh, there we go. That's better. CV structure. Well, it does need to be curvature, so I'll say that that's a pass. And I think that's good. All right. So not too bad there. This piece on the other hand, it does require a little update, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a curve over here, snap it here, do the same thing. Just I think a 3-degree curve should do. So I'm just going to align this piece over here and align this one over here. Yeah, I would say that's okay. However, I'm going to keep this just in case. And let's go ahead and duplicate this edge over here like this. Actually, you know what? If I'm rebuilding it, I'm going to just align at the top. So I'm just going to grab a line over here and here. CV spacing is not too bad, but I think it's a little bit biased towards this side. So I'm just going to spread apart just a little bit. So I'm just going to grab this one, spread apart like that. I'm just going to use edit over here, and that does give me a little bit of better balance. Let's spread that over here. Now, just in case, oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to make sure that this is actually aligned. So, actually, you know what? The position is pretty good. Well, looks like I do need to align that one. Okay, so that's good. And just in case, I'm just going to make sure that it's fully aligned. So I'm just going to grab this edge, make sure that's aligned, G2. I'm going to align that one too, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete the construction history on this curve, because sometimes with trimming and untrimming, that can cause a little bit of mess. And I'm going to untrim this piece over here like that, and let's just reproject. So I'm going to project there, I'm going to project there. And let's just make a square. So this one, I'm going to use COS first and see if it gives me a good surface. If not, I can always switch it. Now, why is that not? Oh, why is there a gap? Oh, that's why. Okay, so you see this gap over here. It is within tolerance, but it's not perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see if I can get this to work a little bit better. So first of all, let me just extend this back, and I'm going to untrim this one over here. And I projected it, I aligned it using project, but I'm going to see if I can do an edge. Oh, there we go. That should give me a better continue over here. So previously, Oh, actually, you know what? Let's take a look. So previously it was off by 0.0057. Actually, that's not much of an improvement. That's weird. If you see this one over here, when the position influence is set to max at 1, it's 0.0042, whereas if I reduce it to 0.0, it's actually a little bit tighter. That's a little bit weird, but 0.0015 looks like that's as close as I can get, so I'll take that one. It's not supposed to work like that, but for some reason it is, but whatever. Okay, so I got a little bit of curvature failure over here, but I think that should be a quick, shouldn't be too bad. So what I'm going to do is, just in case Align messes with the setting over here, I'm just going to delete the construction history like this. I'm just going to grab one of these CVs, and I'm just going to do an NUV to manually get it to be curvature. So that looks good. And let's go ahead and redo all of these. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to intersect this one over here like that. Delete the COS over here. And let's actually trim this one first. So I'm just going to trim it. That looks good. Just going to project over here and project over here. I'm just going to make sure that this is nicely aligned. So I'm going to grab a line again. I'm going to make sure to hit this edge. And now it should create a square. So let's try that. So it's going to be 1, 2. Now you see that it grabs it. And it's going to be 3 over here, COS, and 4. And that's looking pretty good. However, this does need to be curvature. So let's set that in. Of course, it fails. So I'm going to see boundary blend at 2, and that's a little bit weird. Okay, that's however, I'm not, yeah, that's going to require a little bit of refinement. Okay, now that's however, I think this is going to take a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is stop this one right here, and we'll pick this up in the next lesson. All right, so that is it for part 5, and we will pick it up in the next tutorial. Want to learn more? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you will find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including car creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the interior car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.